Bob Croft has a question.
All right, Bob.
Oh, I guess I jump in again. I didn't know if you addressed this issue. What are the concerns when we hear about South Korea's um, rate increasing now? There was just an article that came out. South Korea started to see an increase in number of cases.
Yeah, and we're seeing that. I mean, obviously, Brazil is having a pretty serious outbreak. I think last week I mentioned that Mexicali, just across the border in Baja California, experienced 180 deaths in a single day. Many of them U.S. citizens that have now come across the border and have filled up El Centro Hospital and Pioneers Memorial Hospital are now full and have gone on diversion and are looking to ship their patients up and down the state because they don't have any empty beds. In fact, I think I told you we were contacted to see if we could accept any of the patients. There's a major breakout in the state of Arizona right now, and many of those hospitals are increasingly overwhelmed. So, Bob, as I was saying, that this virus has not gone away. We are seeing resurgences in our own country and in the world. Yeah, I do wonder if South Korea, which early on seemed to respond really well to the pandemic and the precautions and actions that they took, and perhaps they just started going back to normal, where the virus didn't go away. It just was laying low, and now it's taking advantage of the precautions being kind of let up. So, yeah, it causes us concern. It's why I know people might think that Kaweah Delta is being overly concerned or overly cautious, overly conservative, and I don't think we are. I think we're trying to really balance making ourselves fully available and accessible to our community, but at the same time, recognizing our unique responsibility to be there for the community in the event that we do have a second wave that breaks out. So, yeah, great question.
Yeah, it just seems like these stories, especially about Arizona and the southern border, are not being circulated right now. We're not seeing them in the media versus things are quiet.
No, you're right. The governor, and again, I try to stay out of the politics and be critical because I do think that some of his more severe responses, definitely, he's one of the first governors to implement the lockdown, essentially the shelter in home, and issued his executive order. And you think about the population of California in relation to New York and other states, that what New York had 30,000 something deaths, and we have less than 5,000 deaths in California. And is that because we're less dense? We have more geography than New York, or is it because we followed better practices? So, but he really is talking about opening everything up, and I just can't believe how quickly we've moved into phase 3. We were barely in phase 2.5 for a couple weeks, and now we're in phase 3. And how fast will we move through that? I'm not hearing anything, about the Imperial Valley and these 2 hospitals. And I saw one quick story on television about the Mexicali breakout, but I've really not seen it, mentioned by the governor, or really seen it covered, by many media outlets. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then also with our churches, we've had a group of pastors that have been on a conversation with each other, and while everybody says churches are open, it seems to be that the churches still are not quite ready. They're not. They don't have the policies, procedures, and the practices in place at this point.
Yeah, and I still believe that churches are limited to the number of parishioners that can be in the building at any one time. That it's limited to the lesser of 25% of their legal capacity or 100 people. So it's the lesser of that. So again, restaurants were allowed to open, gyms are allowed to open, but only if you meet the modification plans that you're supposed to do. So yeah, to your point, a number of churches can't demonstrate that ability yet to keep their parishioners safe.